Hell, did it start? Yes, it fucking started. Hello, how the hell are you? This is Real Men Talk Shit, and goddamn, I didn't expect to do a podcast this week. I thought everything fell through. But we have an amazing guest this week, and we have two amazing sponsors as long as I'm not too fucking lazy to put them down in the description. We have Robinhood. If anybody wants to make a little bit of money while we're all sitting on our ass because of COVID, make sure to follow the link down in the description. You have a chance, I think it's 1 in 500 people get a stock that is worth $50 or more. You can get stocks like Apple, Ford, GM, a whole bunch of other stuff that you guys want to do. Who doesn't like free money? You guys get a stock, I get a stock. It's one of the best deals in the entire country right now. And maybe you can get some friends to follow you as well and sign up underneath you, and then you get a free stock as well. So make sure to follow the link down in the description for Robinhood. Also, I can't live without this shit. It's KT tape. It is one of the only things that makes it so that way I'm able to do this podcast, because I wag my head around and my hands around like a fucking idiot. You know, you gotta just constantly talk with your hands and your head and bob your head back and forth like an absolute douchebag. And after having neck surgery, it's absolutely 10 times easier having tape on my neck, so that way I can feel like I can move my head just a little bit. So make sure to follow them down in the description below. There will be, I probably have a buy one get one off or buy two get one free or something like that. That's always going on. So go check out the sponsors. We have an amazing guest this week. We have Cory Kastle, the professional wrestler, comedian, movie star, probably 10 other things that I'm forgetting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, man?
Podcaster and comedian were the things that you forgot. But yeah, I appreciate the sick intro, man. I'm excited. I didn't realize that. See, we actually talked about this yesterday. Talking about the calendar messing you up when it's like that schedule-y, what is it called? Calendar? What the heck is that called?
Something like that. I ended up having a guest on about 3 weeks ago now, or 2 weeks ago. His name was Frank King, and he's the mental health comedian. He's coming on again December 14th for an extremely special show about my attempt and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So he ended up using it. So I was like, you know what? I'll try it, because I just want to feel a little bit more organized and stuff like that. And maybe, just maybe, I can actually try and make something of this and
Right.
make myself look a little bit more professional and stuff like that. Having a calendar where people can see, oh, this day is taken, this day is not taken, and try and figure out exactly where they're able to place themselves. And I also checked that, by the way, to see if your request went through. It never went through.
Oh.
So maybe that's why I didn't get a notification. Maybe that's why I didn't get an email, but I have no idea.
Maybe those services aren't as reliable as they seem.
I have no idea. That's the first one I used.
Maybe it's not as user friendly. I mean, if it didn't get received, which, I mean, I'm also a podcaster, and I'm also pretty intelligent when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
in fact,
exactly.
I couldn't fill it out correctly means most folks don't be filling it out correctly.
Like, I just wanted it to be easier so that way I can send, hey, here's the times and dates I'm available. Choose amongst yourself when you want to be on. Like, I didn't want to sit here and put dates at people, because I feel like that's a little bit rude. And I know this is like minutia stuff. So if anybody doesn't care, just skip 15 seconds ahead. I'm sure we'll be done at some point.
If you're not interested in what we're talking about, maybe you clicked the wrong thing. Maybe there's something else better for you out there, and maybe this ain't it.
Maybe the comedy will come later on in the episode. But yeah.
Maybe not. Who knows?
But yeah, I'm like, what the fuck, man? And then you message me, and I'm like, it's like 15 minutes before you're saying this episode's going to happen. And I'm like, kids haven't eaten dinner. I haven't eaten. Wife hasn't eaten. Oh, shit, man. I got home 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, dude. I have no problem. I should have absolutely checked with you earlier in the day.
Yeah, I don't even.
When I woke up and was doing stuff.
But yeah,
reached out.
I've been sitting here just trying to make this look much more professional, so that way obviously you can get bigger and better people. I got some cool ass responses today, actually. A band that
Mhm.
like grew when I was a teenager and stuff, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. Hopefully
Uh-huh.
getting one of them on around the
Cool.
time of the
That's
beginning of
great.
December, which would be absolutely amazing.
So the name of the podcast is Real Men Talk Shit, right?
Yes, yes,
And their song is about do you feel like a man? So maybe there's some pretty cool marketing right there in between
exactly.
putting the episode out and stuff.
Exactly. Maybe I can just hit them up and be like, can I use a 30-second snippet of you without you claiming it?
Yeah, just the part do you feel like a man? Anything else? Don't need to bring up the domestic abuse. Don't need to bring that up. We're just gonna say, do you feel like a man? And that's it.
Or can you just start the episode? Do you feel like a man when you talk shit? And then it just cuts in.
Right.
And then I'll use that for the next
And
10 years without anything.
right.
Because that's how podcasting works. You just say thank you and hope that that's enough.
Yeah, it's weird about it's like I've been doing my podcast evolving for like 3 years, 3 or 4 years. 2017 was when I started doing it, and it was like it was the toughest at first because any guest I had to get had to come to the studio, which is like in Langhorne, PA, which is right around in where I live,
Yeah.
like in Philly, and I had to do one every Monday because it was part of the internet radio station,
Yeah.
and I was scrambling to find guests, and there'd be Mondays where I'd have nothing, and I would just have to go there. Like, so those ones obviously I didn't archive them and post them as podcasts, but it was like I'd have to go in and just kind of like do filler and talk about things that I thought were inspirational. But it's me all by myself, and then like playing some music in there, and it would
Well,
just
that's
be
exactly what this started out as. Is I had an idea for a show with one of my best friends from my childhood, who is 20 years older than me. He's
right.
he's the same age as my parents,
Okay.
but he's super super lighthearted. So I was like, man, your humor and fart jokes and stuff like that with my like in-depth deep dives on things and like in-depth comedy on it, we'll
Mhm.
sit there and bounce back and forth really well.
Right.
Never really came to fruition, and I kind of started doing it on my own and just going massively deep into things. And then I got a co-host that came on that was originally like dealing with the dark web and all that stuff, and then he kind of fell off. Like, it's just been super cool. And now I'm doing more interviewee kind of stuff and trying to get as many interesting people on here as possible. And since my daughter's been born, this show's exploded in the amount of guests I've gotten. Like, I've gotten the people that went through and got the cars for Fast and Furious.
Oh,
I've
cool.
gotten people from TV from 60 Days In, as we were talking about. Some crazy things happened in that situation. I'm getting a second one. And I was a part of one of their podcasts for, I think, like 2 months. They were a
Did
part
I
of this
tell you
show.
one of my biggest issues about the Fast and Furious franchise?
What?
The second one was Too Fast and Too Furious.
Well,
That's
I don't know about you, but I got hit by the fifth one because it was a fast five
I
right to
honestly
the side of the face.
never watched. I watched maybe the first one, and I didn't like it, and it's just not for me. I wasn't
Yeah.
into cars. I've never been a cars guy, and
Well,
it
after like the fourth or the fifth one, they kind of go more of the action route.
right.
And that's kind of where this guy stopped. He was more of like the import guy who understood how to import the cars and create
Right.
the cars and all that stuff. So it was super interesting hearing like the interactions with the individual stars and how he turned that into a career for himself, what he did beforehand. He has other stories that he wants to come on and tell about how he had playmates in his apartment, like 5 playmates for one of the cut scenes and stuff that he had to do. So it was just super fun. And like, I never expected being the shithead that came out of a 600-pound woman to be to and people that have worked on TV, let alone people that are comedians that have thousands and thousands of followers. Like, it's super weird.
Mhm. Yeah, I fully agree. I feel the same way. Like some of my like biggest favorite comedians have done my podcast, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I got to have an episode with Mark Norman and 2 episodes with Todd Glass. Those guys are like top level, like my favorites, and they've done my podcast. So I do know the feeling. It's like I'm just some Philly guy. Well, I mean, but at the same time, I have the pro wrestling name and some of the mystique of that. But
yeah, as far as pro wrestling goes, I used to watch it majorly as a kid, and I kind of got back into it probably about 7 years ago and kind of been like a fair weather fan since then.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 little clip it stories to go into this. First time I saw your picture, I was like, this guy's finisher has to be a super kick because it's the only thing that makes sense.
Okay. I mean, that was my finisher when I first started, for sure. Like, I'd say like the early 2000s, I was using it as a finish, but I use
nice
a
little
different move now.
sarcastic joke.
What's that?
I said nice little sarcastic joke about everybody using super kicks and everybody using splashes.
Yeah, it's so overly done that it's not a believable finish anymore. It was a believable finish in like 2003, 2002, 2003, but like as time went on, got to do something a little more
creative and custom.
Yeah.
And hopefully you don't just move somebody's arm and make it look like you snapped their arm off.
I mean, if that's over, you know what I mean? If you're over with that.
I'm just saying there's some super, super weird moves that look like you're throwing somebody into a pile of pillows, and it's like that makes absolutely no sense.
What can you unbox that a little bit? What move?
I think it was
looks
Wade
like a
Barrett,
box of pillows.
and he had a move called the Wasteland.
Oh, where he just
threw him off his shoulders, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like I'm 6'4", and if I threw somebody from my shoulders, it's gonna hurt a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it didn't look like a very devastating maneuver.
No, definitely not.
Well, Wade Barrett is an announcer now. He doesn't even wrestle anymore.
I would love to talk to that motherfucker.
All right. Wade Barrett is a commentator for NXT now.
Yeah. There's just like so many little people like that are like I don't want to say minority people, but like not the top of the top, but like the middle guys that they're like super cool stories.
They're like the deep cuts.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows the John Cena's and the Randy Ortons, but not everybody knows who Enzo Amore is. Not everybody knows. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little more of a deep cut.
He's who got me back into wrestling.
Well, he's awesome, man. He's a cool ass promo, and he had emotion. He had emotion that most people don't have.
Yeah.
Most people are very paint by numbers, and they go like, well, here's the formulaic answer that has scratched every itch up to this point. Let me just scratch the same itch.
He did essentially the same thing Cena did, getting over a rapper gimmick, or the same thing that The Rock did, coming back and essentially storytelling as a movie star. Mm-hmm. Being able to just portray a character and talk.
Yeah, I was a big fan. I was a big fan of Enzo, but he got canceled, and
that song that came out the day after was fucking fire, though.
You know, I thought so at first, but then hearing it a couple times, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And then the follow-up where he said, gripping my consensual penis. And I was like, what? Did you just say consensual penis in a song? I don't know if you're as good as I thought you were. Like, I think the first time I saw the video, heard the song, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I gave it a couple more listens, and I was like, this ain't so cool. Listen to the words. They're stupid.
But there's so few people that will actually genuinely flip the bird to something like that and just lay everything on the table. So many people are so afraid to just actually, it doesn't matter how this affects me. I need to say what I need to say, and I'm going to say it now. There's so few people that are willing to do that, and he just flipped the bird and was like, they already fired me. What are they going to do?
Yeah, I think in the long run, that probably hurt him more than anything. Like, I mean, cool, get some respect for dudes like you, but when it comes to like
But
getting a job back or being like,
how many people can trend when you're independent though?
what's that?
How many people have trended when you're independent though? Enzo and Cash trended 3 times in the past 2 years.
Yeah, but they don't have contracts anywhere. They don't have jobs. Trending's all nice, but it doesn't get you. Doesn't
Doesn't
put
he have a
food on your plate.
podcast too though?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think he has a podcast. But like trending, I think that would affect both of us genuinely quite largely. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like that's more people giving you clicks or giving you listens and checking you out, and you can sell more ad dollars and
Yeah,
things of
it's
that
just
nature.
so obviously you have a career in wrestling, or we wouldn't have started out this show with 10 minutes of wrestling talk.
Yeah.
Who did you watch that made you say, yes, I'm doing this? Because I remember in early 98, I was 2 years old and running around with a Sting mask on and watching Ric Flair belly flop onto the ground and like early WCW before NWO started and even afterwards, and just wanting to talk that same way and being able to explain my thoughts and all that stuff. What got you started in that same way?
Well, I mean, I definitely want to comment on that. Like wrestling is a language. Wrestling is like a culture. Wrestling is a society. Wrestling is like it's something outside of the norm, outside of the we can talk about pop culture. No, wrestling is its own version of pop culture. But WCW, Sting, Ric Flair, that had a culture. That had a heartbeat that most things don't really have. Everything is sports or it's like film.
Yeah.
Like, and that wrestling was like right in the middle of it because I don't like sports and like I only like I like comedies and silly goose things, but I love wrestling.
It's the one thing, especially comedy wise. If you look at wrestling and you look at things like The Simpsons or Family Guy or actually weekly episodic television, seem like the only thing that can actually intersect with pop culture and pop culture itself.
Right.
Like its own pop culture and pop culture that happens and interacts with everybody. If you play the stupid John Cena jingle that he decided to write and release himself, most people know that jingle.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas most people wouldn't understand what the start of South Park is because it hasn't fallen into worldwide pop culture. It only has its pop culture of itself.
Right. It's got its niche sort of following. But the question that you asked, I'd say the answer would probably be what you said, like 98 for you. I was maybe a year before that, 2 years before that. I was into like I think the first thing that hooked me was I was like Michaels and Taker, that first Hell in a Cell, the debut of Kane, all that kind of hooked me. Right, but before that, it was Bret Hart and Austin.
Yeah,
like at WrestleMania, the I Quit match.
That was what, 96, right?
Right, and then after that was the first Hell in a Cell. I was hooked right at the first Hell in a Cell as a fan, and then the wrestlers I most wanted to be like were like Edge and Chris Jericho, and I was like, the long-haired, blonde, cool people. I wanted to be that. So I'd say mostly I was really into Jericho because of character.
Yeah. What's funny about Chris Jericho is I was in second or third grade, and one of these kids named Joey in my class ran around and said he was related to the Hardy Boys. And I guess this was just like a common thing, just I'm related to this person. So I said, oh, fuck it. I had these 2 New Jersey Devil jerseys. Never watched hockey in my entire life. I'm like, I'm going to wear these. At the time, Chris Jericho was sitting there making fun of every single like team that would be in that location. So I was like, this works. So I went into school with a New Jersey Devils jersey on. And like one of my close friends at the time thoroughly enjoyed hockey. He's like, you started watching hockey? I said, no. I'm just related to Chris Jericho. He's my uncle. and like just super, super sold it. Funny thing is if you look at me, I sort of could be related to anybody. But my mom is 600 pounds and genuinely could not be related to anybody who's any bit athletic at all. The only kind of moonsault she's doing is an earthquake plant that she fell off the top stair. Genuinely the only thing that could happen. So yes, I told my entire second grade class that I was related to Chris Jericho trying to be
Earn clout.
cool.
You were getting that clout. But
Yeah.
you were in public school, so you were able to, like, when I was in second grade, I was in Catholic school. I had to wear uniforms to school every day, so I couldn't have pulled that off. Also, when I was in second grade, I didn't know who Chris Jericho was yet.
Yeah, he wasn't a big name yet.
No, it wasn't. It
It would
wasn't a
have
big
been
name.
like your 10th or 11th grade, right? Something like that.
No, not. I mean, I'd say. I mean, in like '98, I was in eighth grade. Every year that went by, I was the year in that grade. So
Yeah.
like in first grade,
okay.
91, second
Yeah.
grade, 92. So in 98, I was in eighth grade and eighth and ninth grade. And that was the year, that was the first year I like found a wrestling school and like started taking bumps for the first time. I was 14 years old and I was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing with the rest of my life. And here I have been the entire life since that has been in a ring. Not to say that all of those years were good because I was very bad up until like 2007. I'm not a natural. I would hope like I didn't have any family members in it. Chris Jericho's not my uncle, nor would he ever respond to any message I would ever send him, nor do I have any value in Chris Jericho's life, except for the fact that I could probably have a really cool conversation with him.
But you know, if he stopped working at like 2006, we might actually be able to get an answer back from him now if he quit then. Because he wouldn't be as big of a star.
Okay. Well, you think that was he supposed to quit in 2006? You said
No, he took like time off before the
okay.
Jarrett show stuff, and then he
Like
kind of like
the
reinvented himself
Save
and
Us,
exploded.
the Save Us crap.
Yeah.
When he did that Comedy Central like show, that 6-part miniseries on Comedy Central's YouTube. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. I remember him being a host for some show. I think it was like BattleBots or something too. Like he
He
had
did like
a gap of time where he just did some weird ass
a
shit.
game. He did like a game show for
Yeah.
a minute, and he what else did he? It was like something like there was a roof. They were like on top of some rooftop, and he was the host of that. And then he was on Dancing with the Stars or Singing with the Stars, one of those shows. And like he was like everywhere, and then
Then he
that
went back to
just
wrestling and exploded.
and then when he was doing all that stuff, I was already like, yo, I grew up wanting to be this cat. Like, oh, I want to be all this stuff. I want to be on stuff. And like, I think that was what I always said about, like, what inspired me about Jericho, because he was like, oh, I want to be a rock star, and he's a rock star.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I want to be a champion, a world champion, world famous wrestler. Did it. Podcast. Got it. Has his own cruise. Got it. Anything he wants, he's got. And I was always like, I know that I can't be limited to only being a wrestler. I want to also, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a rock star, but I don't have any musical ability, nor would I don't have the attention span to like learn an instrument. But I noticed that he wanted to be all the same things I wanted to be, and he did them. And that's like what I'm doing now. Like I want to do all these things, and I'm doing them. All the things I want to do, I don't have time to go, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm just doing the things.
Exactly. You have to. If you don't just jump into things, then what are you doing? You're just sitting there making plans and telling stories. You're not executing on anything you're trying to do. And if you don't continually expand and move forward, then you're stagnating and you're just frozen.
Well, I mean, I've been saying forever, it's like I can't I can't sit here and keep saying I'm something. Like, I don't announce myself or advertise myself as funny or smart or good looking, because like I can have a day, you know what I mean? Like, if I tell you I'm funny and then we talk for an hour and I never make you laugh once, I'm a liar. If I tell you
Exactly.
I'm smart and you can prove me wrong in 2 seconds, I'm a liar. If I announce myself as only a person, only an honest person who might do things that make you laugh or might not, it's not something I'm going to lead with. I'm not going to lead with who I am and what I do, because I don't have a need to define myself as one thing or the other. Like, I
And I
do a
think
bunch of stuff, but none
there,
of those things are my
there's so many people that want to like boil themselves down to say that I'm American or I'm this color or I'm this. And it's just like you're you. Don't boil yourself down and stereotype yourself at the beginning of a conversation or the beginning of meeting somebody. Have a conversation. The stuff and worth that's in your mind and in your heart is worth so much more than what you can label yourself as or stereotype yourself as. If you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit. That's the end. Like there's no beginning or end to that.
you
If
know
if you
we should
genuinely do that,
we should make like a stamp. We should make a stamp that looks like you're a piece of shit, that, or like what was a tremendous piece of shit, and like stamp it on a bunch of like gravestones. Like, this guy, it says devoted father and husband. Oh, and that said, it says there he's a piece of shit also.
but there's so many people that just want to label themselves as something that's positive.
But
And it's just like you can't just say that you're positive for being positive. I, either you add something to the world or you add something to innately affect somebody, or you're intelligent and can have intelligent conversations,
I
or you blankly stereotype yourself as something so small. Like I don't lead off a conversation as I'm white.
Right. I think it has a lot to do with uh, inexperience with the world or culture outside of what you already know. And
Exactly.
I think it's like also we got time to figure out more, because I can't say I'm everything that I'm going to be right now. I'm going to certainly be more as time goes on. If and I stay exactly who I am now, I'm gonna start to not like me anymore. like
Like I'm Zach. That's what I am.
right,
Who knows what I am tomorrow, but I'm
right.
still going to be Zach. That's the end of it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what you are tomorrow. It doesn't matter what you are 10 years from now. You're you. As long as you're genuinely being you and you're not some piece of shit who's trying to act like you're something or be an exaggerated form of yourself just to be a douchebag. Like if you're putting something out there to improve the world or improve even one person, then you're genuinely doing the right thing. You're not trying to blanketly stereotype yourself into something because you have.
I think I'm a marketing genius. I'm going to announce myself as such. Uh, I I have any business that wants to talk to me. I'm going to give you an amazing deal on being a sponsor on my show, and I'll give you an ad that I come up with on my own because I'm a marketing genius. See, I'm just overselling. I'm kidding. This is
If you were
not.
a marketing genius 4 years ago, you would have changed your podcast name to dot 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 dive.
Yeah,
So
right.
that way,
Exactly.
every time that somebody typed dot 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 dive, it would have auto linked to you, and then bam, look, you exploded.
I
You got tweets from Randy Orton, and you got
I
tweets from
I
everybody.
must also mention, as a wrestler, I think dives are the worst. I hate them very much. I hate them very, very much because everybody knows it doesn't hurt to get somebody jumping on, like to catch somebody. It doesn't hurt. If I put my arms up and I catch you, the only thing that's going to hurt maybe is like hitting the ground, and it's not from you doing it. It's like just just knock me on the ground. The ground hurts. The dive doesn't hurt. It,
Well,
it's
the
it's
crazy
stupid.
thing is
And
I was in
everyone's seen footage of crowd surfing. Everybody
yes.
knows that catching someone isn't a problem.
When I was in second grade, back to second grade because I was a complete imbecile then. I would my sister had this bed that had a like a house at the end of it. It was I think it was like a toddler bed of some kind, and it was just like a plastic molded house that was about like 4.5, 5 feet tall. I'm like, I'm going to jump off that because I love wrestling and I'm going to be Jeff Hardy. So what I did for like 6 weeks is I taught myself how to swanton bomb. Now, in second grade, I was like 4.5 feet tall. Just a super, super dangly guy. Like I'm 6'4" now.
Right.
And all I wanted to do was learn how to front flip
So that you could jump off the house.
because I'm going to jump off the house in my mom's room, off of my sister's bed onto my mom's bed, and I'm going to do front flips because I'm going to be cool like Jeff Hardy and hopefully not turn into a drug addict like he was.
Blow up your house in a meth cooking accident. Sure.
The people that are handed the keys to everything just fucking blow it up.
Saying he was handed something it's weird. It's not like he didn't work. He worked really hard, and he didn't fall onto beds. He did not fall onto mattresses. No. Not one bit.
I'm sure those ladders hurt like a motherfucker.
Right.
I'm just saying, when you're shown, hey, what you're doing is working, and you jump, and there's nothing there to catch you at the end, you made a bad choice, man. You made a bad choice.
So, where was our story going there?
I don't remember. Oh, ... dive. You hate dives.
Okay, yeah.
You hate catching people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like catching or diving. I especially won't dive. Here's the thing. I used to do like instead of doing a dive because I didn't want to do it, I would go, I'm going to climb to the top. I'm going to climb to the top rope while you're on the ground outside, and I'm going to stand on the post, and I'm going to come down on you with a double axe handle because that's a little more believable. For me to come all the way up from there, all the way down to here, is more believable for me to like jump onto you and you catch me and fall down. The catching me is only going to be heavy, and the ground is what's going to hurt.
But this is the thing that doesn't make sense about that specific move. Is it's one of those moves that seems like you would hurt yourself more than you would hurt the other person. Because I can see somebody blowing their knees out or splitting their shin like Sid did 9 times out of 10.
Did you see that like viral video with the guy in the backyard wrestling, just jumping off the ropes and like double sitting himself?
No, I've not seen the double Sid, but the single Sid of the whole double accent. I can't watch it again. So back to wrestling injuries, because this is a funny story as well. So when I was working before my neck injury, they decided to put a TV in the lunchroom. And this guy comes back. He's like, I got something for us to watch. Do you guys like pro wrestling? And this is where I actually first heard of you. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together until I was just flipping through your pictures a little while ago. He's like, we're going to watch some CZW. And I'm like, okay, well, what is this? So we put a loop of, I think it was like 100 hours worth of CZW on the work TV in a sales location in the break room.
So it wasn't seen by the public. It was just seen by the employees.
Just by the employees. Mm-hmm. So I think between CZW and memes, we got that TV taken out of the lunchroom in 6 days. Because what we would do is we came in and worked from 2 until I think it was like 11 or 12.
What was the job?
It was sales, so working the floor and kind of interacting with people and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you get a nice little cast of people that most people's never seen this shit before. You got grandmas, you got grandpas, you got moms and dads, and you got 18-year-olds that have no idea what the fuck they're doing.
So in the CCW watching, you saw a lot of bloody things.
Yes.
And none of those things were ever me. I never bled in CCW. I never did that stuff. So anybody listening who's like, hey, this guy comes from a hardcore place. Yeah, the place was hardcore. I didn't do it. I wasn't in that because I didn't feel like that was wrestling.
So I got a dumb question, because that's where this was going to lead to, was the pain. was we got the TV taken away because of too much blood, and we were being too fucking obnoxious because I don't know if anybody's heard of the Beep Beep I'm a Sheep song. That link will be down in the description below, and I'm going to be an asshole and make sure it's a permalink so that way when you click it, it just opens up 30,000 browsers on your phone and you have to shut down your entire phone. And I'm going to be an asshole, just for a warning.
I'm not going to
be careful of the links.
Rick roll.
Yeah, the new Rick roll, except it's completely electronic.
I've never heard of Beep Beep I'm a Sheep.
Just Google it.
I will not be clicking it.
I'll send you a nice little link.
Nope. I don't want it. No thanks.
Not a Rick roll one. I'll send you the actual link.
I can sit here and listen to you describe what Beep Beep I'm a Sheep is. However, if you send me something, I'm not clicking on it. It's not going to happen.
Who knows? I might just describe it as an Anchor link or a Facebook link and just throw it to you. Here, share this with everybody. So we ended up getting the TV taken away because we were being too obnoxious and too much blood and gore. So have you ever bladed yourself? And first off, describe what blading is so that way everybody kind of...
Well, I mean, blading, the word, I don't think that's said as much anymore. I mean, I don't really hear that said very often. Like getting
That's the
color,
only term I've
getting color,
heard.
gigging, like that
Yeah.
That's some. So it's in wrestling, the blood is real for sure, but it's not due to whatever the reason. Well, not every time. I mean, sometimes it is due to the reason that you saw, but pro wrestlers will cut out a little edge of a razor blade into a piece of tape. So like you see wrestlers with tape on their wrists. Some of them are taping giggers in there. Okay. So in a match where they like get a hit, it's tough because like headshots aren't really a thing in wrestling anymore. Yeah. But if there was a headshot, the tape would open, the gigger would come out, and you get a little color. So if you look at like Dusty Rhodes' forehead, it looks like meat.
Ric Flair,
like
Devon Dudley.
Every like old school guy, they have it, and Cody Rhodes is going to have it now for sure.
Yes.
It's never been my thing. I don't think that's wrestling. I mean, to get that bloody is stupid. I mean,
were you cheering on the Brock punch that made Randy bleed though?
No,
it was real.
No, I was like, it's. I guess it advanced the storyline, which I applaud that, but I wasn't like
you don't.
I wasn't freaking out about it.
No blood's needed here.
Right. I mean, I gigged once, and I had already been wrestling for 14 years and had never gigged before, but I gigged once right here. I don't know if you can see. There's a little scar up here.
Maybe slightly.
But I did a barbed wire baseball bat match, and I gigged for that. And I mean, it was built to. It wasn't like we were just doing a barbed wire bat match just for the hell of doing a barbed wire bat match. It was like we built to it, and we did a barbed wire bat match. And
yeah, I don't know how you do a barbed wire bat match without cutting yourself. I don't think that's very possible.
Well, I had cuts all over my hands and like cuts everywhere, but
yeah,
like that, I gigged. But the finish of the match was that like it was like the Austin I Quit finish, where he passed out from the blood loss.
Yeah.
So we did that, and I actually like cut too deep and had to go to the hospital and all that junk. But yeah, I won't do it again. That was one and done. And
does it hurt differently than like if you cut your hand, or
no? Because adrenaline's like, crazy.
This part of your head doesn't cut very easy, obviously, which is why if you see somebody get cut, really, it's here in your eyebrows from getting punched.
If you were looking through my pictures and you saw a couple matches where I was bleeding, the other matches was a shoot. Like my head hit something and was bleeding.
Yeah.
But the only time I ever gigged was that match, and that was actually the 48th anniversary of the company I was with, and it was like the main event of their show. So all of those factors mixed together was why I agreed to do it.
Yeah.
But I did have to go to the hospital, so I was still in my wrestling gear when they took me. I didn't have my bag. I didn't have my phone. I didn't have any of my information. The promotion never paid me, and they never paid my hospital bills. So
it's been coming out that WWE doesn't pay for most of that shit either.
well, they don't pay for
Anything.
the talent's insurance. Yeah, they don't have. They're independent contractors.
Yeah.
With indie wrestling, it's like paydays are so low. Like WWE is paying their people, like so they can afford to pay their health insurance.
Yeah.
With the money they make. Indie wrestling, they're like, oh well, the house is light, or oh all the money is gone somehow. There's always some catch. It's always some grimy, shady shit. But I mean, it's something like we're not doing it because we're getting paid heavy for it. We're doing it because we love the game.
And you're trying to get your name out there to make yourself bigger, so that way you possibly can make it into a job in a business.
Right. Well, maybe. I mean,
like
maybe.
I messaged one of the regional places around me, and I was like, hey, I would love to come out, have a night. You know, me and my wife would love to come out and just hang out with you guys. Would you guys work with me? And maybe we can have one of you guys on the show and stuff like that.
Right.
Just make a night out of it. No, we only accept newspapers. I'm like, what the fuck? You think you're going to get more people from a newspaper than somebody who's actually interacting with people, which absolutely doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, we have to have a show called Extra Extra Read All About It. We can only have that if it's in the newspaper.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense, man.
It's so passé. It's so like what's it like is it, oh, all of our shows, they don't go on YouTube. We only put them out on VHS tape. It's a dead medium.
Like, I would love to be talking to these people and being like, hey, I'll show you how to set up a live stream. Right. Live stream it to Twitch, accept donations, or even make it so that way it's paid when you join it. Pay $5, you're able to see it. Like, why isn't this industry exploding? Because there's so many different things that you could be doing right now to make it explode. Nobody wants to put in the time. Nobody wants to put in the effort, and it's just all the basics.
I think it's mixed with the, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's like so many. It's not that it ain't broke, but it ain't working.
Yeah.
Like this system.
So I do want to ask one last question before we move on to something different, because you did send me something absolutely crazy, and I do want to talk about that for a little bit, and comics and all that stuff. Which faction from any era would you put yourself in if you had to play a character and kind of be yourself? Which faction would it be?
Well, it's kind of tough, man, because I really feel like if this version of my talent could meet my version of like whatever the perfect era of wrestling would be, probably be like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
The early 2000s, if I could pick up the 2020 Cory Kastle versus the 2002 Cory Kastle, if I could switch them out, talent-wise, or travel back into 2002 and like blow the world up, that would be cool. I don't know about any factions. I would say maybe like DX, maybe, but only because like it was a different era. I mean, DX is kind of corny, kind of stupid.
But if you like corny and stupid jokes, or that matches you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I am corny and stupid. That's my market. My market is corny.
And I wasn't trying to be a douchebag, so
no,
don't take it as that.
No, it's very true. But it's weird. Like these guys, DX became like they were successful wrestlers. Like that was a successful period. Yeah. And the funny part is like they say like don't meet your heroes. I was a huge fan of the New Age Outlaws. I loved Billy Gunn, and I was on a show with him a couple of years ago, and I was like, man, this guy's a jerk. This guy's a real dick. And And I was like, he cut a promo out in the ring, and I was sitting next to my old roommate who's Jewish, and Billy Gunn got on the microphone and he said, "If you're not down with Christmas, I got 2 words for you." And, and my friend was like, "So fuck me, right? Is that how that goes?"
No, he's telling you to suck it.
He's telling me to suck it. Oh man, why don't you suck it, man? That sucks. Like in the phony little fake whispery dialogue.
It's so weird because so many people say don't beat your idols because they'll never measure up to what you expect them to be. And it's just super, super interesting when you actually genuinely hear somebody's interaction with one of the people that they would love to meet that went bad.
Well, most I want to say this as diplomatically as possible. Most of your
I know you're
idols
still
that
working. I apologize.
Right. Most of your idols that you're going to meet in wrestling are probably white trash, probably shitty people. Like they're people who'd show up at like a MAGA convention or like a Kid Rock concert. That's like the market. Pro wrestling is like it's very like blue collar.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. It's like not as evolved of people.
Yeah.
But my heroes and the people that like I'd be interested to meet, and especially like when they say don't meet your heroes in wrestling, it's pretty true. Like I've met a lot of wrestlers, and Billy Gunn is just one of the examples. I've met a lot of wrestlers who have been like, you're not a good person.
You're a dick.
Oh man, what a jerk.
I'm gonna put you in the dick bag.
One of
that stupid fucking YouTube show.
One of the he was somebody who I don't want to say.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
But he was doing a seminar. And he was like being a dick to these people, being a dick to these students, to these greenies. He was like kind of being an asshole to him, and then he turned around to one of the like elder statesmen, and he was like, "This is great, right? This is what only business where you can still get away with being an asshole to people." No, it isn't. The world shouldn't allow you to be an asshole to people. No world should allow. You should not want to be an asshole to people. That's a you problem.
What's funny is that's what this show's name is. It's a tongue-in-cheek joke about being an asshole. Right. And actually genuinely understanding that if you can't talk shit and you can't take shit and then say it back, what are we doing here? Like having that sense of humor and being able to live in a Modern Warfare 2 Call of Duty lobby is one of the most important things that we can have right now. Like if we transported the kids from today back into Modern Warfare 2, we would have a lot of sad kids because they'd be crying all the fucking time.
I didn't play Modern Warfare 2. Not good at video games. I'm a dork of a different level. I was never good at video games. Can't play catch. I'm a good actor, right? Here's why I'm a good actor, because if somebody throws me a ball and I catch it, I can act like I'm not surprised that I caught it.
So I do want to talk about your short film that you released recently. Because
since we're talking about good acting.
Yeah.
I was find subway into it. I meant to say segue, but I said Subway. This episode brought to you by Subway.
My wife had a super serious fucking allergic reaction the other day to fucking Subway.
Well, then,
like just straight
episode not brought to you by Subway.
I'm like, holy shit, man! Fuck you, Subway, for touching my wife's food with tuna. Go fuck yourself. So back to what we were saying. Yes.
Bruce.
Holy shit. I had to turn that shit off 5 seconds after I turned it on because my son was standing right next to me. I'm sitting here talking to you, trying to get like this figured out when you're coming on and stuff. I get that link, so I click it because that's just what you do, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh shit, there's a gun in his hand. Click, 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 pause.
Yeah.
Screen off. Come on.
Right. You got to be careful about what the
Go
kid.
play upstairs.
How old is the kid?
He's 6, but he loves superheroes. Like we've gone 7. Sorry, wife. Those years just kind of all meld together, especially since being out of work and stuff.
Well,
But
the days all run together.
Yeah, we've gone through and kind of went through all of the Avengers movies, and now we're going through them a second time and kind of just showing them all the stuff and getting both of our older kids thoroughly enjoying superheroes and all the nerdy stuff.
I have to say, I'm also very behind on those films. Like, just in quarantine was the first time I saw most of them. Like,
yeah, us too. Like we went through, and instead of watching them in the order they came out, we watched them in chronological order, so that way they made more sense. Okay. Because I don't know why they sat there and went backwards and forward.
Yeah,
I hate when movies do that.
So that nerds like you would sit there and watch them in chronological order.
Yeah, like all those weird Star Wars people that watch them backwards.
Yeah, well, they numbered them backwards. They put out 4 before anything, 4, 5, and 6, and then
makes
we're like,
no sense.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to go so dark with that film?
The director, the writer, and the director, Stephen Dotson, he was listening to a lecture from, I think he was like maybe on set with one of the producers from Joker, and he might have heard him on a different set, like getting interviewed by somebody, talking about there's so many alternate origin stories for all of these DC characters.
Yeah.
Like no one ever thinks about. And then Steve was like, well, like we got to do one for Bruce Wayne. And then talk to me and talk to my friend Chris, who's my roommate. And we were like, yeah, let's just do it. And then Steve typed it all out and we did it.
Like, I genuinely wish that they kept everything dark like The Dark Knight. Like, I thoroughly love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Mm-hmm. And just how dark it is and how in-depth it is, of how you can look at the movie in different ways and see different things. If they actually kept DC movies like that and went through them, where would it be now compared to Marvel?
It's very weird. Like, I've been recently saying about how I know I shouldn't like talk crap about Jason Momoa because people compare us all the time and I love him. He's great. But I thought Aquaman was just Sea Thor.
Pretty much.
And it was
Sea
like
Thor and the bitch who cut off, what's his name? Johnny Depp's finger. The one actor nobody genuinely likes, Johnny Depp, gets his finger cut off. The bitch makes a movie with Jason Momoa, and it's Aquaman.
It's like the movie we were just talking about it the other day. The movie, no one saw it because of the good acting. No. Everyone saw it because Jason Momoa is this attractive guy,
and the movie's beautiful.
Right.
In all honesty,
it looks pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was about like Jason Momoa's muscles.
Yeah.
That was why people saw it.
But like, I genuinely, like, thinking back on it, we actually just purchased that movie yesterday, and it was in a combo pack with Shazam, which hopefully I can get to see here at some point.
I liked Shazam. I thought Shazam was all right.
I heard that it was very similar to Deadpool and kind of dark and stuff like that.
Kind of Deadpool-y. I mean, not as gory or anything as Deadpool. I mean, it wasn't as raunchy as Deadpool, I guess.
Yeah.
But good. I thought it was good. For
sure. But like, I'm kind of hoping that they start actually forming some sort of universe here, because it seems like they're just so disjointed.
Independent thing, like independent of themselves.
And then you have these Suicide Squad movies, which make no sense. There's 4 different people playing the Joker. There's 4 different people playing Bruce Wayne, and none of them make sense. None of them work.
Well, do you include me in that count?
Yeah, why not? Everybody is Bruce Wayne.
the I think the main a lot of the goal of Bruce was, well, one, we did not originally, when we put it out, we did not say that it was a Batman fan film. So going into it, don't even remember that it's a Batman fan film.
Yeah.
Watch it and figure out what makes sense to you when it makes sense to you. So
Yeah.
that was the thing when we would say, watch it, and then say, talk to me about when you discovered that it was Bruce Wayne.
It clicked automatically for me. Just so that way I'm being transparent. I will put the link down in the description. Yeah.
It says it in the description now.
Yeah.
But like it didn't before. You know.
And that might catch more people off guard and actually make them sit there and watch it.
It's tough because I kind of want to be careful in saying this. You can't really assume the best out of people. Like,
as far as Bruce goes, did you watch Gotham?
Yeah. I was actually an extra in Gotham. I was
really
in one of the episodes. Yeah,
that's fucking awesome. I thoroughly love that show. Like, genuinely.
Uh-huh.
I was one of the few people, probably the only person in the world, that put that show on the same level as House of Cards when both of them were out. I think it was like first and second season of Gotham to the first season of House of Cards.
I didn't watch House of Cards. I didn't. I don't think I had Netflix when that was on. I don't know. I just was never really into it.
Don't watch the last season.
Was that
everything? I said don't watch the last season. Everything else is fucking fire.
It feels like anything Kevin Spacey was in is automatically weirder now. Watching it,
it's even weirder. Okay, this isn't a spoiler.
American Beauty is a weird movie already, but then thinking about how he's like the kid next door's dad thought Kevin Spacey was having sex with his kid.
Yeah,
like he in real life might have been.
Like in House of Cards, this isn't a spoiler.
No, let it be a spoiler. I can have any show be spoiled for me and not care. And if it's something I genuinely want to watch. Not a spoiler
as in like a storyline spoiler. It kind of gives you more background about the character. So him and Robin Wright are in their kitchen and they're like, go get him. So Robin Wright walks out to the door. He's like, come here, to his Secret Service agent, because he's a member of Congress at this point. And they have a three-way, a gay three-way, bisexual three-way.
With Devil's Triangle.
Yeah, well, they were all interacting. So with the Secret Service guy, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, didn't expect that.
Well, he'll be able to keep the secret because he's a Secret Service guy.
Exactly, Secret Service guy.
He was doing Secret Services. But I had some friends who played Secret Service guys on background of episodes for House of Cards as well.
Oh,
so the film I did, The Dark Military, which it's on Tubi and it's on Amazon Prime. It's streaming. It's a cool ass film. But one of the guys, the movie's called Dark Military. Yeah. One of the guys who played a Dark Military member was this guy James, who was in all the House of Cards episodes.
That's fucking awesome. Like, I would love to be an extra in something like that. Yeah. Like if you actually sit there and take the time to watch House of Cards, which COVID's going on, you might as well.
Maybe not.
My favorite character in the entire thing was this alcoholic who was like Kevin Spacey's staffer, essentially. Like, he was the head of his staff. And you see him sit there and screw around with a woman, and he kills her. And then he stalks another woman. And it's just like super, super creepy. And like, if you watch it for that reason, then you have like the horror aspect of it, of like, what the fuck is going to happen? Mm-hmm. It's just one of those shows that is super, super grimy and super slow and super dark. But if you watch it for the right reasons and actually follow the individual storylines.
For the Robin Wright reasons?
No, nobody wants to fucking see Robin Wright. Kate Mara, on the other hand, was better. But, yeah, super, super amazing movie. Not movie, show.
Yeah, I know. I knew what you meant. You didn't have to.
Yeah. Absolute idiot. I apologize.
Don't talk about yourself that way, man. Be kind to yourself. You have to spend more time with you than anybody else in the whole entire world. You should at least love every minute of it.
No, I get to be self-deprecating so that way people can at least giggle when I call myself a retard.
Oh, okay. Well, sure. However you justify it.
Well, I think of it this way, and this was kind of like the reason to be able to tell stories and stuff like that is if I can sit here and make fun of myself and make fun of the things that have happened in my life or the people around me, then I can also make fun of people that are in pop culture, such as Greta Thunberg or Bam Margera or whoever the fuck decides to blow up next. I can make fun of them too because I can make fun of me. And if I can't make fun of me, I can't make fun of them because then I'm a douchebag.
I mean, my policy is pretty forgiving of others, so I'm not really one to do a whole lot of making fun of. And if I do make fun of,
Oh,
it's for sure going like, here's what I've noticed, and if I'm making a good point, this is a good joke.
that's what I'm saying is like just
Yeah.
actual train of thought humor and
Right.
genuinely understanding what somebody's trying to do and say,
Yeah.
but also just ribbing them a little bit about it because most people don't get that.
Right. Well, like
And
I've been in comedy roast battles. Totally cool with that. Like
yeah,
I did Comedy Fight Club NYC, the Roast Masters, Matt Marin. It was on Gas Digital. I did Eli Sayers podcast from Eli Sayers from Comedy Central. His podcast is called Roast Ghost. I did that where we did like a roast on like Thomas Jefferson or Thomas Edison. I'm sorry, we did a roast on Thomas Edison for the one episode, and the other episode we did a roast on Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it's ridiculous. It's very ridiculous.
exactly.
Which I'm totally fine with people ribbing me or roasting me too. Like my I was roasting on with this guy Steven, and him and I did a podcast with each other on my show just to kind of get to know each other a little bit, so that like when we try to write jokes about each other, to me it's like the joke writing exercise is
Yeah.
the best part about it.
Is actually trying to craft what you're trying to say and
Right. Yeah.
and genuinely rib somebody where it's going to hurt, but they can laugh about it afterwards,
Mhm.
and also genuinely understand what you're trying to say and get across.
Dan St. Germain. Does that comedian sound familiar?
No.
Dan St. Germain did jokes for the Bruce Pritchard roast. He did a speech on that or whatever at Starcast, and he reached out to my friend Matt Marin to help him write some jokes, and Matt Marin reached out to me. So I wrote some jokes that made it on the Bruce Pritchard roast as a third dairy source for these jokes, and they're pretty funny. I was proud of them. The joke writing process for roast jokes is fun. The
Yeah.
structure is fun.
Whatchamacallit, the mental health comedian who's going to be coming on December 14th again, he helped write jokes for Jay Leno. He helped, like, it's super interesting seeing how everybody's mind works and interacts and all that stuff because everybody is slightly different. And the more screwed up you are, the more willing you are to say different things in different ways. And it interacts with people in different ways.
Dude, I got to tell you about this. I got to tell you about this new app I just found. And me saying that made it sound very advertisement style. I got to tell you about this new app I just discovered.
You're going to tell me later on. I know you're not a gamer, and I'll explain it in 2 seconds. But you're going to tell me in 6 months from now that you were actually a part owner and you've been making money from it the entire time, and you apologize while holding your dog.
Yeah, that I don't have a dog. So none of the story is going to happen because I don't have a dog. I wish I had a dog. Then this whole story would make sense. But the app is called Stereo. The Stereo
Yeah,
app.
I've looked into it a little
Um,
bit before you were talking about it, actually.
It's a lot of fun, man. It's like having these cool BS conversations, just like shooting the shit with folks like from all over the world, and it'll be like, oh well, I just talked to somebody from England, and it was like they got to discover what my show was, and then people got to listen into what the stuff is, and like I'll talk to people and they'll be like, "Oh, what's your podcast called? I'm subscribing right now." And then
Like, I just wish it automatically like recorded it.
it does.
It doesn't record video.
Oh yeah, it just does the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah,
It's like
I recently upgraded to video, so I'm trying to make sure everything's video.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily like before COVID, before the lockdown. I wasn't doing video on
Yeah.
my show, but that from the lockdown, that became like a big element to my show, to my podcast, Evolving
My
with Cory
views
Kastle.
tripled or quadrupled when I added video, and I only uploaded on Facebook and just share it out a little bit. Like, hey, it's like it's worth it if that's what it's gonna do. Let's go. Let's grow it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I put them on YouTube, and the YouTube videos get like no views. Like people don't follow it.
Like,
It's
genuinely, because of how many followers and friends you have on Facebook, start a Facebook page. And I'm just going to sit here and sell it to everybody. I don't think anybody's listening anymore. But so start a Facebook page with your name or the name of the show, however you want to do it, depending on if you want to upload everything there or just the podcast.
I have one of those. I have a Facebook page for Evolving with Cory Kastle.
And then upload the entire raw video there.
Okay.
And then I take normally one story or one snippet of each episode and share it like 10 times. Find a couple groups that actually interact with your stuff and kind of click like or share or whatever. And I use memes to kind of interact and share and stuff like that as well. And then you just slowly just see your numbers grow.
Okay.
I was really pissed last week though, because I don't know if it was the guest that I had on last week or just some random person that doesn't like that I'm outspoken or some fucking thing, decided to bot my video. And I watched it go from 1 like to 1,000 likes, and then back down to 5 likes, and then back up to 10,000 likes. And I'm like, what the fuck?
They rickrolled your ass, dude.
So I posted, I said, just because I'm an asshole, as I said, whoever fucking botted my video, I don't care who it is, because you're trying to get me deplatformed. You can fuck off right now. I hope that you don't shit so long you start throwing it up, because this is just pissing me off. Because the last thing I need is to get botted. Because I don't know about you, but I've been muted on Facebook before.
This never happened to me.
I was taken out of search results for my wife, who has me followed, who has me liked, like actually friended me on Facebook and everything else. And if she can't find me in the search results, then how are you?
Right. I mean, I've never been blocked or muted on anything, but maybe I'm a different brand of asshole.
Well, I've had political shows, so I'm sure that it probably interacted with that a little bit.
Did you have political shows?
Yeah, I've had political episodes where I've like actually gone in depth and shared my ideas and stuff like that, and why I voted the way I voted. And like, people genuinely don't like that for some reason. And I don't understand why sharing my opinion with somebody who has a different opinion is so politically incorrect. Like, genuinely, regardless of who you voted for or who I voted for, that doesn't make me any less or more of a person than you. You know what I'm saying?
You're not any less worthy of unconditional love at all. Your voting is separate than who you actually are. Just because you voted for somebody doesn't mean you advocate or agree with everything they've ever done or said or tweeted.
I don't agree with the whole I'm going to vote for the lesser evil thing. Like, if I genuinely vote for somebody, I'm saying, hey, I like something that they're doing. And hey, if we can keep freedom of speech, then we're doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have freedom of speech, I can't say fuck on the internet. And I like saying fuck on the internet.
The FCC is going to shut you down.
Exactly. Real men talk shit.
How many episodes do you have now?
I think this is episode 30, 25, somewhere in there.
Okay, cool, cool. So, where do you think you started catching like the hang of it? Like where you kind of got the groove to it? Did you
It
feel like you found that yet, or are you?
it's so different because I felt that so many times.
Right.
Like around episode 4 or 5, I started seeing growth, and it was a solo show. So I was like, maybe I'm doing something right. And then I have no idea what the fuck I did right.
What do you do? Like, have you had bad episodes, ones that like you just weren't into?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had bad episodes that I'm like, why the fuck am I going to upload this? They just say and have spaces in between what they're saying, or only answer with one word answers.
Right. Yeah.
And then
I
I've had episodes with my wife where we completely explain mental health and like go in depth, and it explodes, and I'm like, why are these two videos and two episodes getting very similar views? It
right.
makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, dude. I come away from I've come away from conversations on my podcast where I'm like, oh my god, am I going to release that? Am I going to release that? Like that was boring as hell. Like there wasn't anything interesting about that. Like I expect my expectations are maybe sometimes a little too high, but like when I get at the end of an episode, I'm like, did I learn anything from that?
Hopefully
Like,
you enjoyed this.
yeah, I hopefully no, that's good, it's good. But I'm saying, like, there's been times where I come away from shows and I'm like, oh, what was interesting in that? Like, I'm
Like
scared
my
that the
second
audience is gonna unsubscribe or not
my
stick to it.
my first episode with a guest was fucking huge. It was the co-host that I tried to get, who came on like 2 3 weeks ago again,
Mhm.
who was dealing for a little bit, who dealt with the black web, sat there and mailed illicit substances to random places so that way he could go pick them up and then sell them, and like actually genuine storytelling of crazy things that some people haven't experienced. And then
Mm-hmm.
my second episode, I had a local guy who I worked with at the time, who was a porn star and got millions of views on fucking Pornhub, but didn't make enough so that way he wasn't working a sales job.
Mm-hmm.
And I got more requests to have the porn star back on when he was saying every couple words than the guy who could completely coherently tell a story.
Was there substance between the ums? Was there good
No,
points? Was there tips? Was there
no, there really wasn't.
interesting stories? Was there?
Like the first 15 minutes was fucking fire because I think as a guy, you're like hearing about people's porn experience is pretty fucking interesting. But when you stray from the reason that you're on here into like actual interaction, and like you bring up Tiger King, and you're like, no, I haven't watched it yet. How the fuck do you bring up Tiger King and you haven't watched it yet? And it's just like I sent you the stuff. I sent you the stuff that I'm doing the episode on.
Right,
Like, tell me. I sent you the stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, if
right,
there's genuine interaction there that doesn't work, tell me.
right,
Be open.
right. So it's a matter of there's the guy maybe didn't read what you sent him.
It's a little bit of effort. I'm not expecting you to go back and watch 30 hours worth of content.
Right.
Like I sent you, I was like, hey, watch this episode if you want to see what I've done. So you
Right.
kind of genuinely have an idea of who I am.
Yeah, I like to do the same thing where I
Yeah.
go like maybe check out an episode or two and kind of get an idea of if it's a vibe that works for you.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
because I like to and I'm not advertising it, but I'm saying like this isn't going to be a podcast experience like one you've probably experienced.
yeah. Like I'm super interesting. The first time I have somebody on, it's more of an interview
Mm-hmm.
because I think doing that and teaching the person myself and kind of letting that interaction happen genuinely, like the first time you're sitting down having a beer with a friend, you want that interaction to be there and kind of just shoot the shit and kind of learn about each other and what that interaction is going to be. Now if you're a good guest, you come on a second time and we just shoot the shit the entire time, tell some stories, have some fun, and interact on a different level.
Right.
If you're a one-time guest, you're not coming on for the second time. because obviously it didn't work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I really enjoy doing follow-ups on my show as well. Like I like to have people come back and talk about more, like, because it is evolving. So it's like if I had you on, if I had you on in like December of 17, I want to have you back in like January of 19 or
Yeah.
20, so we can talk about like what kind of evolving has happened in your life, and like what's an update, because you're definitely not the same person now as you were when we spoke before. I know for sure that I'm not. So it's going to be a different kind of conversation.
Like, just not to harp on the same stuff that I've already said on this show, not this specific episode, but the show in general. Like, 3 years ago, I was essentially flipped the bird by my mom, who's 600 pounds, who was my best friend at that point. And instead of understanding that I took her in when she was homeless and she has to pay back the bills that she spent, I got handed $500, which was like, it's not about the money, it's the disrespect. You're my mom. You're supposed to show me how to respect people, not spit in my face essentially and flip me the bird.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like I can genuinely talk about anything because that fire's been lit. Now I can genuinely say, I don't give a fuck. Like, other than people that are specifically in my house, my voice isn't held to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
which is super interesting because before I was the silent kid who was just eccentric at home, who was just an asshole at home. Now I'm an asshole at all times because I'm just going to say how I feel.
Right.
It's not me genuinely trying to be an asshole. It's me interacting and saying what I feel just like you do. I
Well,
just
like
was,
you want what you want, and you know what you want.
yeah,
So you want to be treated a certain way, and you don't want to be treated another way. I get that.
like I was called out by so many family members, and it's crazy because I was treated like the golden child by my entire family. And then all of a sudden I speak out and talk about how my mom tried to mail in a husband from Africa and he was trying to buy her kidneys and like all this crazy shit and actually calling like a voice to what's going on, and I'm the piece of shit. And it's just like, man, like we're not the same. Like we're not the same here. You want people to sit here and have a joke and laugh behind a curtain when I'm telling you exactly what's wrong.
Well, I think that people sometimes people don't like exposing
No, nobody
exposing
does.
things, like the call to attention.
Nobody likes call to actions because
Right.
it makes everybody who didn't do anything about it beforehand look bad,
Right.
especially if they were around at that point,
Or like they were enabling that behavior.
especially when they were.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, it's super, super crazy.
There's a lot of people who are like, hey, don't you dare talk about what I do. I'm going to do what I do. Don't you dare talk about it. Don't call me out on what I'm doing. Just just put up with it. Just put up with it because all these other people have been putting up with it this whole time. Like, just fall in line.
You're going to
Just
be an asshole if you say anything or do anything.
right,
Okay, I'm
right.
an asshole then. Fuck you. It's just like so many people don't understand that entire perspective. So many people just want to sit there on their hands and say, "Oh, it doesn't bother me."
Mm.
And then when it genuinely affects you because it's how you look at things and how it interacts with you in your life, sorry.
So, how long ago was this falling out with the family?
About 3 years ago, maybe
And
four.
how much attention, how much energy do you give it still?
None.
Well, then you live in, bro. Just keep living.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just it's super super weird. You know what I'm saying? When you have your entire life built around something, and then you look back at it as an adult, and you're like, "That's not how I saw it."
Mm-hmm.
Like I starved myself half the time. I sat there and I struggled in stories that are going to be super super in depth on December 14th.
Mm-hmm.
with mental health issues and severe depression and trying to deal with my grandmother who passed away when I was 4 because my mom wouldn't get out of bed and help me deal with it.
Right.
And like super, super fucked up childhood that I thought everybody dealt with.
Right. I mean, everybody had their own version of super fucked up.
Yeah.
Super fucked up is not exclusively your thing.
Oh, I know.
So,
That's
I
why
mean,
that's
it,
why I have people on, because genuinely hearing other people's stories and interactions with the world will genuinely help one person down the road.
it
Because I
opens
don't
you up.
care
It
about
opens you
me.
up to healing to know
Yeah.
that like other people have their like, dude. Like, if let's say, I'm not saying this happened, but let's say when I was a kid, my parents beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Right. I I didn't have parents. I had my mom. But let's just say, you know what I mean? Like you hearing that would go like, wow, I didn't really know if I really have it that bad. Like or like, oh, I was locked in the basement or so, you know what I mean? Like once you hear somebody else's struggle, it gives you perspective on how like
Oh, definitely.
if this person can go through what they went through and heal from that and put that weight down and and pick up the ball that they want to run with and run with it, like I guess I it's not as hard for me to put down my weight.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's super interesting to hear how people have dealt with those things or has interacted or affected their life because so many people aren't willing to talk about them. So so showing that armor and taking it off and saying, "Hey, this is what's happened to me," and being as in depth as you want to ask or anybody wants to ask, and actually explaining what happened or what interactions happened, it opens so many people up because so many people aren't afraid then because it's like your armor's gone. You've said
Right.
what's happened. You've said how that affected you and stuff like that. So I'm willing to say what happened to me.
Yeah, it's open and transparent and it's very like safe. It's
Yeah.
very safe. It's like the consequence, and this is my old roommate and I used to talk about this. Where like with doing comedy, like we both came from a career of wrestling. We were pro wrestlers, so grew up in that environment where the consequences were either this gets over really big and it's cool and good, and the crowd reacts to it, or it gets over really poorly, and then immediately after it gets over poorly, the person you're in the match with hurts you.
Yep.
So it's like the if I do a joke and the joke doesn't land, the consequences are different. The circumstances are different. I'm not getting hurt
You're not
after
getting punched in the mouth.
right. I'm not someone's not putting me in a hold or going, look, you fucked up kid, like what the fuck? Like that's not happening to you.
Ugh. So 100% I want to have you on again
Okay. Yeah.
because I think that we absolutely killed an hour and a half when I was like, you know what, we'll just do an hour and we just
Yeah,
kept going
I
and
wasn't
kept
paying
going.
attention to the time.
Yeah, I literally just looked and I know I have other stuff I have to do tonight, including
Yeah.
edit this video. So that way it can go up because today was the day it was because I'm fucking lazy and retarded and just cancel and you got to move shit around and then you get a message 5 minutes before you're supposed to go on and you can't do the show. But I do
No,
want to have you on again and have just open discussion and have some fun shooting the shit because I'm sure you got some crazy ass stories from the road.
if I can give you any advice, if you even
Yeah,
care,
I do. Give it.
uh, I for sure would like to see you a little bit kinder to yourself. I for sure would like to see you celebrate yourself a little bit and give yourself a little bit of credit for what you have achieved, and for
Oh,
the
I do.
fact that you know you have a wife and you have a kid and you have a life that's your own,
Yeah.
and like all that like fuck you energy that you have towards your past. Don't that shit doesn't serve you, dude. That doesn't serve you at all.
Oh, I know.
Cast
No,
cast whatever doesn't serve you to the fire.
no,
That's
it's
not
just, it's super interesting displaying interactions with certain things and being able to describe and interact with everything in two different ways because genuinely I'm a very, very calm person.
Mhm.
very subdued and able to understand and look at everything in many different ways. Although I lean one way politically, I can understand the other side, where a lot of people refuse to do that. I genuinely am pretty okay with myself. I'm pretty happy with myself. Do I want my business farther? Do I want to be able to improve my business harder? Yes. But I rag on myself because I think it's genuinely interactive and humorous.
Yeah, well, you think
Yeah,
it's going to be, you think it's going to be charming. You think it's going to be more charming to apologize for your existence, and it's not. You don't need to apologize for your existence. You're like, yeah, I have this voice and I'm using it, and
yeah,
it's worthy, and I'm worthy. So that's kind of where I'm saying. Like
yeah,
when you say like that R word about yourself,
yeah.
that that's like that was a word used against me when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like I was a special ed kid. I
And I hope nobody takes that personally. I use that towards myself because I did grow up with Family Guy
right,
and
right.
how that was humorous. So
I get it.
yeah.
Yeah, I fully get it. It doesn't bother me.
Oh
I won't say it. It doesn't bother. I'm not
yeah,
bothered by it. But it is. You are vilifying that word even more. You're not empowering that word or taking it back.
exactly.
You're just using expired ways. And for yourself, it doesn't make it much different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, dude, you're you're doing fine.
Yeah.
You're doing fine.
Oh, I'm
And
doing great, man. In
right,
all honesty, I bought a new car last week. Looking at buying house, you know what I'm saying? Like genuinely, as a person, me, I'm doing good.
good. That's good.
Today, feel kind of shitty. Have felt shitty for like 2 weeks, but like it is what it is.
Mhm.
When you're interacting with COVID and you're interacting in life, when things are not going the way you want them, things are gonna be shitty. But things can be shitty and life goes on.
Here's the thing I always say, and I hope you take this. I hope you take this and use it in your life. So, let's say ideally, from birth to death, let's say like 100 years, right?
Yeah,
So your childhood was maybe, let's say, 9 years of that.
yeah.
So as bad as your childhood was, you've got so much other living to do.
You got 9/10 of a life. Why throw away it
Right. So
for
it's like
the 1/10?
I say all the time, all your problems, like any relationship you're in, that it goes for 3 or 4 years and it doesn't work out, it's this big.
Yeah,
And the blip, it's this big of a blip on the radar that is like the entire timeline of your life. Now, the amount of time and energy we spend, I always say, like, we waste so many right nows thinking about right nows that have already happened that we'll never get back. We're
yeah,
never gonna get we're never gonna get the exact, like, oh, someone's gonna say, oh, I was wrong here, you were right here. Remember when this happened? I'm sorry, I suck. I'm sorry, I wasn't in the right position. You just have to
yeah,
know that people are always changing and growing. And if they come to that on their own, cool. If not, just forgive for yourself. Forgive them, because they might not have the aha. They might not have, but you go, you know what? You taught me a valuable lesson in that moment when that happened, or those actions that you did helped me along my path somehow. I
yeah,
learned something valuable from that. And like I say that stuff about anything. Like I say, like these this presidential stuff, all this other stuff, it's everything is teachable. Everything is a lesson that we can learn from it. We can take away from it. We can like find ways to better tomorrow.
yeah, exactly. And I think nobody genuinely wants to sit there and see every side of something. And there's so few people that actually genuinely want to interact with each individual side of everything.
Mhm.
And nobody wants to look at everything. They just want to look at their specific view.
Well,
And it
because
doesn't matter where you fall, it doesn't matter what you believe in. Either either you look at everything or you look at your specific pinpointed ideal that will be the only answer ever.
I think as people, and I don't want to say as men, as women, as Americans, as Canadians, as whatever, as people in general, we are programmed to feel things that are very dualistic. So it's like, it's wrong, right, black, white, like Democrat, Republican. So sports teams, it's like, oh, this is my team.
I hate this one.
Whoever their rival is
Yep.
my rival. When you talk about a sports team and you're like, oh, did you see? I'm from Philly, so of course I would say, oh, did you see that Eagles game? Yeah, we killed them. No, that's like, no, they did. Those people. I'm going to separate me from them.
Yeah.
They did it. The Eagles won the Super Bowl.
I don't understand why anybody says we when they're talking about sports teams, but that's just.
Well, it's identity. It's represented. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you feel like you are represented by this. When it's Philadelphia Eagles, we're Philadelphia, so that's us.
Yeah,
I get that.
Meanwhile, it's 5 people from North Dakota, 2 people from California, a person from Texas, and they were all paid to live there.
Right. Yeah. Right. But it's the same with politics. It's like the representation of, this is the things that I care about, and that's the things that guy says he cares about. AKA, that's what I now have to put over, like it's my thoughts and my feelings.
Exactly.
Like, now I gotta hammer a sign up in my front lawn. For that, I always say, if you're gonna have a flag out front of your house that says somebody else's name on it,
no matter who it is,
get a life. Get a fucking life. Find something
It's the
better.
same people that come out and like, I'm white. Like, buddy, I can see what color you are. Tell me something interesting about you, or have a conversation. You don't have to lead off with what color you are, what you think, or what religion you are.
That goes back to representation. That goes back to identity.
Oh, I know. But like, each individual person is so much more interesting than the color of their skin or their religion. And so many people want to boil themselves down to such a basic stereotype of what they look like. And they throw everything out. And it's completely divided the entire country. And I didn't want to get into this with you because I didn't know exactly how you felt on it, but you seem like you're going that way a little bit. And then we'll wrap this show up in like 2 minutes. But it's so frustrating because it's like the only thing that people care about is what they're most boiled down to, when your thoughts, your heart, and everything else are the most important thing that you have. Your experiences are yours. If you sit here and say that your skin color or your political ideology or your religion is the most important thing about you, then you're the most boiled down milquetoast person I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, have some dimensions, man. Like, have more than one layer.
Exactly.
Like, ogres are like an onion, as Shrek would say.
Like, and I'm ugly as an ogre, so come on. Like, let's peel some garlic and onions and make a steak. Like, there's so many layers to everybody, and boiling yourself down to something so minute just makes you look like a doofus.
It's I think it's relative. You know what I mean? It's relative to where you've been, who you've been around, what influence they had on you, what influence you've had on your group. Like, who's there to hear you in what you're saying, and are those people going to agree with you or not agree with you or try to teach you something new, and whether you're open to learning something new.
Exactly.
So a lot of that is all relative.
And so many people just don't understand, and they just want to boil themselves down and kind of look at something so small and so minute that everybody just wants to be that, and it makes you shake your head.
Just be like water, my friend.
Look at yourself. Don't look at what you are. Look at who you are.
I mean,
just like when you're starting a business, you can't
identify all the way. I'm this, and I won't be anything but what I am right now, because that's not how time works. That's not how the world works. Like, when you're a baby, no baby can go, you know what? I'm done growing. I'm not getting any bigger. No, you gotta grow. That's what your nature is. So
No, there are some people that are still in diapers to this day, and we just don't talk about them.
but in in nature.
See, I got you to laugh. I
Right.
win. I got the comedian to laugh. Have a good one, guys. Check out the sponsors below.
Be fun, have safe, keep evolving.
Check out Robin Hood. I think that's what I used. And I guess real
It's an
shit's been
easier take.
talked. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.